Hope and heat abound in this tantalizing sci-fi romance sequel. I've let fear control me long enough. This is my life, and I'm taking it back. Fionne Foxxe Faraday's smoldering hot Mates of the Alliance series continues with DARZIK, a slow and sensual follow-up to the steamy kickoff found in the first installment. DARZIK, Mates of the Alliance, draws on and develops the hints of connection between DARZIK and Emily into a full-blown relationship while weaving themes of healing, hope, and commitment into the tapestry of Faraday's sweeping intergalactic romance series. Welcome to another Nothing Like a Good Book, folks. It's the series on the Tucson Business Channel and your favorite podcast channels around the country. Fionne Foxxe Farraday, an experienced physician working in pulmonary and critical care medicine, she combines her first-hand experiences in the ICU and experiences of military family members who served in World War II and Vietnam to create her tantalizing and creative sci-fi romance series. Fox created the Mates of the Alliance novels as a means of fighting cabin fever during a period of enforced medical leave due to a personal health crisis. Even after returning to her ICU duties, Faraday found her writing to be a therapeutic way to deal with the daily stresses of medical care during the midst of a pandemic. Welcome, Foxxe Farraday.
Hey, Mark, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to visit with you.
Well, for as long as you can remember, you've always enjoyed writing, but never actually dreamed you would be a writer, correct, Fox?
Yes, I used to like writing, and then I loved reading, and I just got busy with work. And this was quite a surprise to me.
So let's get into the book. I mean, let me read a little here. DARZIK senses the pain and fear behind the walls that she has built, right, Emily? But can he wait patiently and earn Mika's trust? Micah? I always get that one mixed up. Is that Mika?
It's Mika. Her full name is Michaela. She's named for her father.
That's right.
And she changed her name because of the trauma that she went through and the media frenzy that basically followed her.
Well, she has to muster her courage, let down her guard, and take her life back. And there's no doubt about that. And when a potentially catastrophic geological event sends DARZIK on a dangerous mission, will he return to Mika and the growing bond between them? So in this story, Fox, Emily has been through something horrific which altered the course of her life. She is a survivor,
Yes.
big-time survivor, and doesn't see herself to be a victim. So most of this book is her journey to reclaim her life and how DARZIK is there for her through it all as her staunchest cheerleader, the one who sees her bravery and supports her as she steps forward into a new life. So, poor Emily. But Fox, you've been living in the Mates of the Alliance world for a while now, and it seems like every book becomes your favorite while you're writing it. But you do have a real soft spot for DARZIK, yes?
I do, because he recognizes the pain that Emily hides very, very well. She wears a mask, and he's very patient and he's willing to wait as long as it takes because he knows what they will become to each other. He just realizes that she needs time and understanding. What he doesn't understand is that she's done with waiting and feels like she's letting herself become a victim twice by letting this rule her life. And she basically decides that the best justice, or the best revenge, if you like, for a trauma like that is to have a fulfilling, rewarding, happy life and find love. And she decides that, she's waited long enough and he will not know what hits him.
Fionne Foxxe Farraday continues her out-of-this-world sci-fi romance series with DARZIK, the second installment in her Mates of the Alliance series. DARZIK follows the journey of Emily, a survivor of sexual assault, as she grows closer to DARZIK, the commanding officer of the Luperans. Now, this is an extraordinary story of healing, restoration, and trust. It's a heartwarming and steamy exploration of hope, and highly recommended. And that's from John J. Kelly. He's the Detroit Free Press. He gave you 5 stars there, you know.
Yeah, he was very, very kind, and I appreciate his generosity. But it's interesting because one of the themes that will kind of come up in these books is that we underestimate the intelligence of the other inhabitants of our planet. We're a little arrogant in thinking, yes, we are quote unquote top of the chain, but a lot of these animals are amazingly intelligent, and we do not give them enough credit. And this explores some of that.
Well, DARZIK, Mates of the Alliance, this is your second book now. How do you balance your duties as a full-time medical professional with your writing pursuits?
Well, actually, because, even with, thankfully, COVID has subsided some, but we've had an exceptionally bad flu season, and RSV has also left quite a mark on adults as well. So there's still a lot of stress, and it keeps me balanced and keeps me from getting frustrated. And sometimes when you can't do enough things for your patients, you get kind of angry. And this helps me channel it, because the beautiful thing about science fiction is you can create whatever tech you want. So in this world, the tools that we don't have in ours, they have available in theirs to help save these people.
Right. Well, the Mates of the Alliance series, it predominantly features the medical and military professions. So why are the experiences of military and medical personnel, why are they important to you?
Because I think that if it weren't for our military, we wouldn't have the lives we have now. And they do this with a lot of times not enough thanks, very little pay, and a huge amount of sacrifices on both their part and the parts of their family. And this is a love letter to them, because I remember, I was too young, but my brother was in Vietnam when I was a year old. And from everything that my other brothers and sister tell me, he came back a very changed person. So they make tremendous sacrifices to secure the lives so that we can live the lives that we do. And I wanted this to be, a tribute, a love letter to them, and also to, the medical profession, the nurses especially, in the ICU, and also on the COVID floors, who gave so much of themselves during this time, and still do, because, we're still losing some patients, and it is a tremendous toll emotionally on them. And they do their job, and they do it well, and they do it because they love their patients and they love their work.
Yes. It's like a non-gratitude job, isn't it? Even though people, do thank you and so on. But I heard the other day there's still, 100,000 people a day still dying with COVID. I found that difficult to understand.
Well, it's deceptive, because the current, and I'm sorry, I'm going to verge into a little bit of the medical jargon.
That's all right.
A lot of the patients we're seeing now aren't coming in with COVID pneumonia, but they're coming in with strokes and heart attacks and blood clots in their legs and their lungs. And that's also, it's a known complication of COVID, but it's not as well known. So a lot of the people assume that COVID's, on the downswing, and it's much better than it was, but it's still, an ugly monster out there, and still got pretty good fangs.
You have mentioned that writing KAIRN, the first in the series, and now DARZIK, have been important to you by means of handling, work-related stress for you. But at this stage of the pandemic, how are medical professionals holding up? Does writing, continue to be cathartic for you?
Yes, because, sometimes even without COVID, I live in a part of the country where people start smoking when they're under 10 years old. And, when they're 60, they've smoked for 50-something years. So a lot of these people are, relatively in the scheme of things young, and they're coming in with horribly advanced cancers. And, you wish there were more you could do. And it's a source of frustration. And, there's not always, you can't offer them as much as you truly wish you could. And there's still a lot of that frustration. I take that out on my keyboard.
Well, you're also an avid reader. What are you currently reading and enjoying? Can you share that with us?
And this is awful. I have not actually read something completely in probably about 4 or 5 months because I these days for just the angst and the catharsis, I write
Right,
more than I read.
right.
The last thing I read was something out of a series by Grace Draven, and it's a something called The Wraith Kings. It's basically science fiction fantasy, and it's about two completely different cultures that have to form an alliance to maintain peace.
Hmm.
And one of them is human, the other is extremely alien, and it's a confrontation of cultures, and it's comical, and the main characters that initially start the series, they start off as friends. They don't think they have anything in common, and it's a lot of humor, and then ends up being extremely tender, and they develop a tremendous bond. And I wanted to echo something along those lines in my book.
Hmm. You're listening to Nothing Like a Good Book, as with this, and Darzik, Mates of the Alliance by Fionne Foxxe Farraday. And a question I'd like to ask you is this. I mean, between KAIRN the First and DARZIK, you've already introduced us to several alien species. Will
Yes.
further books provide more detail and background about these intergalactic species and their cultures?
Yes, because initially I was just going to focus on KAIRN and his group. And some of the other aliens that are introduced, sorry, I had to get my phone charger. Yeah. Basically, stole a bunch of the scenes and demanded that I tell their story.
Right.
So book 3 is not about anybody that was supposed to be in the series, but they were just so compelling that I could not resist. And one of the characters was just so, lonely.
Right.
And he really needed someone that would complete his life because he was surrounded by family who were mated and very happy. And he doesn't want to settle because he knows what's possible. And he needed somebody that could fulfill that role for him. So there's a whole bunch of new aliens who get introduced in book 3
Right.
because of this character.
Well, initially, from what I've read, Fiona, you were just writing for yourself, but eventually you began reading, your writings to your late husband and friends. They enjoyed listening and encouraging you where the story would go. Now, even though apparently that you work full-time as a physician, you still write when you get home on the weekends, and it's helped you greatly in the past 2 years of stress as a medical professional in the middle of a global pandemic. It's been such a rush, I guess, to see your work published. Has it been a big thrill for you?
Oh gosh, this is something that I never even dreamed was possible. So it's been a heck of an exciting ride. It's like it's an emotional roller coaster.
Well, Grady Harp, he's Amazon Hall of Fame and the top 50 reviewer. He thinks you could definitely write. He gave you 5 stars. And Fionne Foxxe Farraday is a writer who creates a science fiction fantasy so closely tied to reality that the concept succeeds on every level. DARZIK, the second book of her Mates of the Alliance series, it continues the journey into a fascinating and delightful world. And it's very highly recommended. Wow, that's a nice writer for you.
Oh, he was extremely kind. And I want to see what he thinks of the next book because Mika, or Emily, her family is actually very compelling. And her brother is actually one of the main characters in book 3.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that was just sort of the one lone person left in his family and kind of left in the outsider, not outsider, but looking in at these wonderful couples and wondering if there's someone out there for him.
Mm-hmm. Well, with Earth still recovering from the devastating alien attack that drained the oceans and set the planet ablaze, visualizing that, it's pretty scary. The Lupirans have remained to continue recovery efforts and establish ties on behalf of the Galactic Alliance. You know what? I feel this is so close to where we're at, realistically, in the world, and you're writing like you've got a channel from the Galactic Alliance, I think.
Well, it's interesting because I used to, the first with KAIRN, I tried to do an outline and it just didn't work. And it's just like, well, I'll just, let it go and see where it takes me.
Mm.
And the characters kind of wrote their own story because they had distinct ideas of where they wanted to go.
Right.
Yeah.
It's almost like, what's it called again when you just shut your eyes and you write or the pen takes you?
Yeah. It's interesting because their ideas are way better than mine were by far.
Well, as relationships, between the humans and Luperin's continue to deepen, DARZIK, he's got a front row seat to the bond between his friend, KAIRN, and his mate, Daria. What happens because of this, Fox?
Well, KAIRN is the first in their group, the first one they've known of themselves who has found a mate. And they see that he has found acceptance and laughter and peace and joy, just pure love. And it gives them hope that maybe that's possible for them. Something that they never realized could be, because they've been battle-hardened veterans in a generations-long brutal war.
Mm.
And they thought that was their lot in life. They didn't expect to ever find anything else.
Mm.
And this, they found, KAIRN's found, a mate, love, and a new home on Earth. And while they still have, some loyalty to the Alliance, Earth has become their home.
Right, of course.
And they will,
he's dialing his Daria on his arm, and, he's got a whole fresh new start ahead of him, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, what messages, let me ask you this, what messages undergird your work, do you think? And are there things about our world, as it is, that you hope these books will invite readers to consider perhaps a little bit more deeply?
Yes, because, people, if for a reference point, things like Avatar, things like Shape of Water, authors like Ruby Dixon, mm-hmm. that'll give them a point of reference. But sort of the thing that is one of the themes in the book or the series is these aliens and the humans, they're both equally committed, devoted, fiercely faithful, protective, and they're utterly each other's mate. That's all. They're each other's person. Mm-hmm. That's it. Bottom line. And the mates, the idea is mates just are, and hope is woven throughout the theme of the books. And one of the main characters that maybe isn't obvious is the Earth, right, and what she's gone through. And, we have one planet and we have got to take care of her if we expect her to take care of us. And that's why the slightly shift in the focus on DARZIK is there's this horrible catastrophe that they're trying to avert. Mm-hmm. That's not actually alien in nature. It's just a consequence of the planet and the things that are going on with us.
Right.
And we, especially with we've had so many twisters and hurricanes and floods. We had snow in California. Mm-hmm. Good Lord.
And snow in Arizona too, believe me.
Exactly.
Look, we live in a very tumultuous and uncertain world right now. Hope is big in this book. What you want to give your readers is more than the hope, mm-hmm. but that's the lead. We need to find it, hang on to it, nurture it. You're hoping mm-hmm. that this book will help readers do that, give them a happy ending that will help them hold on to hope that it's possible to heal, even from, horrific events, as you say. Mm-hmm. And I guess often the help of family and friends are what ultimately see us through, right?
Yes, because, friends are the family that you get to choose. And, a lot of people don't have, per se, biological families, but they have built an amazing support system from their friends who are family that they choose. So, and there's, the other thing is, and I'm sorry, this may be rather obvious, but we've got to look beneath the surface. I mean, these are two species who have nothing in common when you just look at them. And they look beneath the surface, they embrace each other's differences, and they find their person. Mm-hmm. And, we're not that different. All these little differences that people focus on are so superficial. Beneath it all, beneath religion and politics, we have way more in common than we have different.
Yes, I agree with you. And I think you're timely, too. I mean, I think it's getting closer and closer that our friendly aliens will reveal themselves.
Oh, I hope so.
With such an unbelievable universe out there, I think
Yes.
in this day and age, I think it's hilarious for people to think we're it. You know, and the more I do history research and this and that and where we came from, I tell you what, I wish I could interview an alien. I'd love to be honest with you.
Who knows? That may be possible because, it would take a very arrogant person to think that we're the only life in this entire countless
Right.
planet, solar system, galaxy.
Well, I've tried to get hold of Elon Musk, but he won't return my calls. So I think he's an alien. I really do. The guy.
I agree. I agree.
There's too many smart things going on. With DARZIK, good old DARZIK, Faraday continues to build and expand the emotional, resonant cast of characters from her mates of the Alliance world, just demonstrating how the bonds of love and friendship can be found in unexpected places and reminding readers of the power of true love and deep commitment. So I want to ask you this. As someone who began writing, later in life, you didn't start that early, what encouragement can you offer for people who may be listening who would really love to try and start writing?
That you have to start because you don't know where it will take you. I never imagined when I first just started venting at my keyboard that this would lead me where it has. And, write what at least when you start, write what you know, write and always write what you're passionate about. And if you have questions, you can bet that other people do too. So explore what you find curious, what you find amazing, because you will find audience who want to have the same questions and would love to know what directions you could take it in.
I too have always loved and wanted to write. I'm just starting to now, and I get confused between always torn back into reality of whether you should write an autobiography or whether you should be out there with, creative ideas that I'm getting all the time for other books. What is the role? What is the role of good fiction, do you think, in providing hope and joy, during challenging times?
Well, I think especially, right now, people need a little bit of distraction, escapism, and something that will weave, a little bit of hope, a little bit of laughter, a whole lot of love in it, and also that emphasizes that, these are powerful aliens, but the humans aren't the helpless damsels in distress here. They have a lot. They bring a lot to the table. They offer a lot. And it focuses on how the partners in a relationship are just that. They're partners. They're equal partners. Sometimes maybe one gives a little more and then the other one does the same thing at different times. But it is a true partnership. It's pardon the term, but it's a two-way street. And that's the way a true growing relationship has to be.
Well, your books are strictly about happy endings, Fox, commitment and fidelity, an unusual choice in the romance genre. In your opinion, what makes monogamy a sexy subject for a work of fiction? I mean, do you think this kind of total commitment is possible in real life?
I think it is. It is probably a conscious choice. And for my characters, DARZIK has never even thought that a relationship was possible. And Daria and Emily, basically for them, the total monogamy offers, and this doesn't sound very exciting, but safety to explore their relationships without fear of, somebody, of their partner looking at someone else and feeling, lust or feelings. They know that they are it for their mate. And it gives them a sense of freedom. And they embrace it. They immerse themselves in their relationships. Both partners do. And because they're completely monogamous. And they are both sort of learning along the way. And they sometimes it's comical and it's very tender, and they find such joy in each other because of the monogamy, because of the absolute faith and trust that they have in each other. And there is a scene in book one where someone actually flirts with KAIRN, and let's just say he nips it in the bud, no questions asked. There's no subtlety to it, Daria realizes, he doesn't see anyone but her, and that makes her feel incredibly secure and free and, safe to explore what they're beginning to develop between them. And that's what I find so attractive.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's so much trust between them. There are no doubts in that regard. Do I ever have to worry about, my partner cheating? There is no question of that ever happening.
Yeah. So, well, yeah, and it touches on respect too, which there is very little of today. And that's in my opinion. I could be wrong, but that's what's wrong with the country in a lot of ways. A lot of respect has flown out the window. How many books have you planned for the Mates of the Alliance series? And will the characters, though, from the first 2 books continue to show up, throughout the series?
Oh, yes. You get, they all have cameos, and some in more books, depending on the situation, and more so in some books than others. There was supposed to only be 5 books, and I've gone beyond that because other characters secondary characters sat up and went, I'm next. And they had such a compelling story to tell that, they were next. Which is interesting because they are, and yes, I've lived in this world for about 3 years. They actually do have they're almost alive to me at this point, because they will be like, I know you want to talk about, this character next, but I can't wait. I just have the story I have to share. And that's what happened with book 3, because he was not even supposed to have a book.
Stay on the line when we've done with this. There's a question I want to ask you, actually. It just came to mind.
Surely.
The book, ladies and gentlemen, DARZIK, Mates of the Alliance, by Fionne Foxxe Farraday. It's the 2nd book in the series. Now, where can one buy it?
Sorry. It's going to be available hopefully soon, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure where else it'll be available, but we're going to start there.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to give a shout out also because there's a really nice book trailer that is, there's one for KAIRN, but there's also one for DARZIK. And I wanted to give a shout out to Sheila English because she did a absolutely phenomenal job with it.
Fabulous. Well, I put them up, actually. I didn't get it in this briefing, but I'll chase that and make sure it gets up on the site. And, of course, people go to markbishopmedia.com, and Nothing Like a Good Book, and you can see the different stories and interviews we've done with various artists. One of them has just hit Hollywood big time with a massive series, and good luck to him. And you never know where you're going to go with this. But, of course, this particular book, it's a beauty in the series. Folks, look, it boils down to this, okay? If you like your sci-fi stories filled with smoldering romantic heat and creative banter, then Mates of the Alliance might just be the series for you. All right? Highly recommend it.
Thank you, Mark. That is wonderful. Thank you so much.
My wife doesn't like sci-fi, but I do.
Goodness.
So there we go. Fantastic. Fionne Foxxe Farraday, folks, on Nothing Like a Good Book. And it was a pleasure to have her again. We had the first installment a few months back, now number 2. And I'm looking forward to number 3 and 4 and 5. Stone the Crows. We're going to be doing this for a little while yet. So thanks for being on, my dear, and good luck and all the extreme very best, okay?
Thank you so much for having me and letting me visit. Oh, by the way, if I pause once in a while after you ask a question, it's because your voice is just so compelling just to listen to.
Oh, well, maybe you can spread the word and I might be able to get a book read or 2.
There you go.
All right.
Oh, it's lovely to listen to. It really is.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. All right. So take care. God bless. All the very best with this 2nd, okay?
Thank you so very much. I appreciate this. It's been lovely visiting with you.